Alright, so here's the column with paint on it. Um, we're going to get to stripping that off. I'm going to use a Radiant stripper first to get most of the paint off. And it did a really good job. It's an expensive European little, I forgot, a Cobra. And it did a really good job. After that, I applied a coat of chemical paint remover to get the rest of it off, and pressure washed all of that off after letting it soak for a good day, wrapped up in stretch wrap. I wish I'd got some pictures of that. It's kind of cool looking. Anyway, there was a big crack down the middle of it. Uh, just split right down the middle. There weren't any nails in that section or anything, so I ended up clamping it and gluing it. I used a urethane glue, Gorilla Glue, because I figured that would probably take the weather and really do a good job of bonding. It seemed to do a really good job. And yeah, so there's that. So then I went to experimenting with this thing, trying some different materials. I worked with Abitron first. Um, and the Abitron, the liquid consolidator works really well getting it in there, but you can see how dry it is and how rounded over all the peaks are, and the valleys have got kind of roached out there. Some of it's pretty bad. It's not looking great. So I tried the Abitron, and you put the consolidator down and let it kind of get tacky, and then lay this putty on here. It mixes. It's sticky as all heck. I had a hard time with it. Um, and I came up with a process to kind of get it to layer on top of there. I tried sculpting it in, and it was just a pain in the butt. So I was trying to find out how to get that on top to build those ribs back up. It was kind of a pain. It's just really, really sticky. It's really good for straight surfaces, I would imagine. But I use these dowel rods here, and I lay them down in that track. I'll show you with a little piece here. Lay them down in the. There's Jocko. Lay them down there like that, and then I can kind of smear it across the top. And at first, I was using the Abitron for that, and I did a few with the Abitron, but it was so sticky and such a pain mixing it, and just get obnoxious. I ended up using the Famo wood for the rest of it. I'd say, where it was really rotten and bad, that the around the base in the bottom areas, that Abitron's the way to go. Where you need that structural strength, and that consolidator gets really good and hard, and it sucks up in that grain really well. So I used it to basically reinforce the wood, and then around the base and areas where it was really kind of rough, I used the Abitron. But all this cosmetic kind of stuff, I ended up using the Famo wood, and it worked really, really well. It smooths out like peanut butter, so where the Abitron's really, really sticky. But yeah, you can see how bad it is in areas. So it's just terrible. Just ate up. So I tried several different methods and played in different areas. Uh, yeah, I don't know what all I'm showing you here. Working the end and working those on there, but it just took so long. I was like, man, I'll be here for a month using this process, because it took me a whole day to get that little chunk done. Okay, lessons learned here as I zoom out. All right, with this column in the restoration, so far, testing materials, I've come up to the conclusion that I've got two products that I like using, right? We're going to go with the Abitron, right? There's the Abitron, and then there's also the Famo wood. So I've tried a bunch of different tests. So here I've used the Famo wood strictly alone with a shaping tool that I made out of copper, and that worked okay, but it really didn't fill the top in well enough here, and left some gaps. It was a little wanting, and it's more paste-like, but it ran into the frickin' valleys of the flute really, really well. Now I still got some spots I got to sand up here as I'm trying to build this back out, where this wood rotted and chipped, dried out and chipped out of there. Going to be a bunch of sanding because there's some really big gouges in here. But insects have gone at this pretty well. There's a deep valley. You can see how this is completely roached out. You don't even have any square points on there. But anyway, the Abitron, I've tried it in the same way and it can be a little sticky and difficult to work with. Just trying to smear it in with a tool to shape it. It becomes very time consuming. But yesterday I discovered that by using a couple dowels as spacers, I can bring that top up really well and then sand it. But then today in the sanding process, this is my learning phase, I realized that I'm going to have to just double sand this because these valleys are still pretty bad. I need to move some tools out of the way so I can roll this where I want it. I mean, you can see in these areas where I've sanded, see how you've got all these little areas where it looks like bugs have dug in there. See, now it's nice and smooth where that's filled in, but now I'm going to have to go back across this bottom and retake care of that. You know, and there's some pretty deep gouges in places. It's been pretty well abused. So I'm going to finish sanding these out in these areas, get them dressed out so that I can fill the bottom first with the Fama wood. And then once I have the valleys done, then use that method to get the tops, because to be honest, this is looking pretty good through here. I mean, you can see this is probably perhaps one of the worst areas here where this particular piece was really rotted out. So you can see how much it's filled in and come up. And you can kind of get an idea of how rounded over some of these have been from the insect damage. So getting them back up is important to me. You know, you can see that. That's just terrible. But it's progress. So a little bit more sanding. Fama wood down in the valleys, because you can see where it's done a really good job filling in here, and it's easier to work with because I can pretty much smooth that in with a simple dowel and then sand it out. And once it's sanded out, then I can work on the rib with the with the Abitron. But this was kind of a test over here to see how well the Abitron would mesh or fill in with the Fama wood, and it seems like it bonds really well. I've sanded it down. It doesn't look bad at all. It's not chipping away. So hopefully, using the two products in concert and timing right, I can cut this project down a little bit because this has been taking a while. There's 24 flutes. It's a pretty big column. So, you know, to get it looking like it did 140 years ago, well, it's a challenge, but I'm up to it, so it's just a matter of time. And then the joy of it is once this one's done, I've got 9 more to go. Hopefully not as bad. This one was one of the worst, but we'll find out if I can come up with tools in the process to speed this up. Then brilliant. This is my first one in the test bed for how to handle this thing, and I've got hopes that it will turn out looking spectacular. And then once this is done, I can take on the Capitol, which is in pieces. You can see pieces all over the place. I'm going to have to redo these to get them dressed up, make a mold, and just remake these because the plaster's just roached out on them. But they are beautiful pieces, and once I get them redone and resculpted, I'd use better products, and I can replace all of those and have these columns looking fantastic. Because it is a beautiful, it's really a beautiful freaking home, but that's just going to take a little TLC and a little sweat equity. Anyway, have fun. All right, here we go. So we got valleys. We got half of this thing about done. I've got to finish up here close to the end of these flutes, get them sanded out. But it's been quite a process. So fill the valleys, build up the ribs, and sand them down. It's interesting where you can see where, you know, the wood was just rotted out. And in contrast, you know, some areas were pretty good. You can see there's a lot of original wood showing. But then you get, you know, you can just see where dings, dents, the pulp was ate out by insects. You know, so filling that pulpy area back in. Especially up in here where you can just see how it had just wore down pretty bad. Yeah, I gotta do a little bit more final sanding. In here, you can especially see kind of what it looks like bug damage through there. But all filled in. It's interesting, that contrast. But getting that profile back and looking good. Most of the really bad areas have been handled. I mean, some of these were just about completely gone. Right in there where you can see how much you had to build up there just to get it back into shape. Well, progress. We're making progress. Yeah, see the difference? See how that's just the ridges there where something ate that pulp right on out of there. And you lost your corners. Some of these aren't too bad through here, but it's just along that top edge. This like right there looks fantastic. Yeah, but we'll get her. Getting rid of these rounded off areas here where there's just no profile left at all. Been completely just toasted out. A little shaping, a little sanding, some filling, and we'll get this column looking like a column again. I'm almost halfway there. Yeah, anyway. All right. So here she is. I've finished sanding her out. I've given her a coat of linseed oil inside and out, boiled linseed oil and turpentine to get it to soak in. Now a lot of this has been treated with epoxy, so I don't think they'll soak in those areas, but they're on the inside. I got a stick and a rag and ran it down the inside. But yeah, she's looking pretty good. That oil is soaking in. Give it a day or so to dry. But yeah, I'm happy with this. Sanding all these edges and getting all that dried up rotten wood treated and consolidated and back into shape. And there's a lot of really good wood, good solid wood in there. And I'm not sure what that red primer is, some sort of iron-based primer I'm guessing that they put on the inside. Seems like it soaked up some of that oil really well. But she's looking really, really good. I'm happy as shit with the way it's turned out. Give it a couple days for the oil to cure, or a day or so, 24 to however long it takes. And then give her a coat of primer. Then we'll see what she really looks like. There might be a few spots that need a little filling, a little nicks and stuff like that, but man, that's been a lot of work, a lot of sanding. Learned a lot in the process about what materials really work and what materials don't. Kind of roll her a little bit and get a good shot of the whole thing. Kind of get an idea of how much work was involved in this whole thing. Yeah, the flutes are looking good. That is really looking nice. I mean, compared to what it was, my lord, yes, that's a treat. Get it back in the middle there. Fans going. Help get her going. Yeah, pretty sweet. It's nice to be this far along finally.